Is my food ready? He asked without smiling. Amara shook her head slowly. No, I'm not feeling very strong today. I was going to make something, but I fell asleep. Uncle Joe's face changed. He dropped his car keys on the table and raised his voice. Amara, you are a very lazy woman. She blinked fast, confused. You're not the first woman to get pregnant, he continued angrily. My mother was pregnant 11 times. 11, and I never saw her lie down like this during pregnancy. Ordinary pregnancy has turned you into a snail. The only thing girls of nowadays are good at is eating men's money. Uncle Joe was a man who believed that women were like things you could buy. As long as I have money, he would say, any woman I want will say yes to me. He was in his 40s and owned a big shop where he sold generators and inverters. His shop was one of the biggest in the area, and people from different parts of town came to buy from him. He had strong arms from lifting heavy machines every day, and a loud voice that always echoed in the shop. But even though he had money, a booming business, and everything a man could ask for, Uncle Joe had never been married. His family was tired of talking to him about it. His mother, his uncles, his cousins, everybody had tried. Joe, time is going, his mother would say. You need a wife and children to carry your name, his uncle would add. Who will inherit your shop when you're gone? His aunt would ask with worry in her voice. But Uncle Joe only laughed. Marry who? He would ask. Those women looking for husbands. They only want your money. Once you have money, they will all come crawling. But when the money is gone, so is the love. He would shake his head and say, I'm not ready yet. I can cook my own food, wash my clothes and clean my house. What do I need a woman for? And truly, Uncle Joe lived alone and did everything by himself. After coming back from the shop each day, covered in sweat and dust from lifting machines, he would take off his shirt, enter his kitchen, and cook rice or boil yam. Sometimes he made simple vegetable soup or beans. He would wash his clothes, clean the bathroom, and mop his floors without help. See, he'd say to himself, I don't need a wife. But there was always anger and mistrust in his voice when he spoke about women. Even if I marry, he told his friend one evening at the shop, it's just so my name won't die. Not because I want it, these women. They'll cheat, they'll give you a child that's not even yours. His friend Utch, who helped him load generators into trucks, tried to advise him. Uncle Joe, not all women are bad. You just haven't met the right one. Uncle Joe snorted, right one. There's no such thing, they are all the same. If you were a woman and not part of Uncle Joe's family, he would never treat you with respect. You can't be great on your own. He once told a lady who came to ask about inverter prices, you need a man to help you, women are weak. Stop pretending to be strong. The lady looked at him in shock. Excuse me, she said, but he didn't stop. All those girls showing houses and cars online, hook up babes. Men are the ones doing everything for them. No serious man will marry such a woman. The woman walked out of his shop without saying a word. This was Uncle Joe's life, full of money, full of machines but empty of love. Until the day he met Amara. It was a hot Wednesday afternoon. The sun was bright and dust filled the air as cars passed. Uncle Joe was arranging generators at the front of his shop when a young woman walked in. Good afternoon, she said, smiling. He looked up, and for the first time in years, his mouth stayed open. He forgot what he was doing. She was beautiful. Her skin was dark and smooth like fresh palm oil. Her eyes sparkled like stars, and her voice was soft like a song. She wore a simple dress and held a small handbag. I'm looking for a generator, she said politely. Oh yes, please come in, Uncle Joe said, his voice suddenly softer. He started showing her the different types. This one is strong for small homes, he explained. This one works with inverters too. Very quiet, saves fuel. But as he talked, he was not thinking about the generators anymore. His heart was beating fast. This girl is not like the others. There's something special about her. She finally picked a small generator and brought out money to pay. But Uncle Joe gently pushed her hand away. No, don't worry, he said. Sorry, she asked, confused. I mean, it's okay, just take. When Auntie Amara got home that evening, she sat on her bed quietly with the new phone in her hand. She didn't call Uncle Joe. She didn't even switch on the phone yet. Instead, she just stared at it, her mind full of questions. How can someone I barely know buy me something so expensive? Is he just being nice, or does he do this for every lady he meets? She placed the phone beside her and sighed deeply. I need to think, she whispered. I need to relax and understand this man before I move forward. Meanwhile, back at his house, Uncle Joe was pacing in his small sitting room. He looked at his own phone again and again. No missed call. No text. Nothing. She hasn't called me, he said aloud. He sat down on the edge of his bed and held his forehead. Even a simple thank you, she didn't say it, he muttered. I've been scammed, me, Joe the great generator man. He laughed sadly and stood up again. I bought a phone and she vanished, he said as he looked around the room. Then he sat back down and sighed. Well, I took a risk, if it works out. Good, if not, I've learned my lesson. But deep in his heart, he hoped. He hoped Amara would call. Even if it was just once. Even if it was only to say thank you. 2 whole days passed. Uncle Joe had lost hope. He even started making jokes about it with his assistant, Utch. That girl ran away with my phone, he said, pretending to smile. Maybe she's using it to chat with another man now. Utch laughed, not knowing the pain behind the words. You never know, sir, she might still surprise you. But Joe shook his head. My brother. There are no surprises, I've seen it all. Just then his phone began to ring. He picked it up lazily and looked at the screen. An unknown number. His heart skipped. He answered slowly, hello. A soft voice replied, hello, good afternoon, it's Amara. In that moment, every anger in Uncle Joe's heart melted away. The sound of her voice was like cold water on hot stone. He sat up quickly, surprised but happy. Oh, Amara, I wasn't expecting your call, he said, trying to sound calm. I just wanted to say thank you, she said gently. Thank you for the phone, I've been thinking a lot. And I really appreciate what you did. It means a lot to me. Uncle Joe smiled widely, even though she couldn't see him. It's nothing, he said. I'm just glad you called. How are you? From there, the conversation continued. They spoke for several minutes. They laughed. They shared little stories. And before they ended the call, Uncle Joe said, feel free to stop by the shop whenever you're free. Okay, Amara replied, I will. And she did. Days later, Amara walked into his shop again. This time not to buy anything. She came just to spend time with him. They sat under the small fan in the corner and talked about life. Sometimes they shared snacks, other times, they just sat quietly, watching people walk past the shop. Uncle Joe felt something he hadn't felt in years, peace. But no matter how happy he seemed, deep down, Uncle Joe still didn't fully trust her. She's only here because of my money, he thought to himself. If I was broke, would she be here smiling like this? He decided something that day. I will buy her gifts, shoes, phones, perfume, but I will never give her cash. That way I'll know if she's truly here for me. But what Uncle Joe didn't know was that Amara was not like other women. She didn't come around because of gifts. She didn't sit in his shop for money. She came because she enjoyed his company. She knew her worth and she knew how to carry herself with pride. One afternoon, as they sat in the shop together, Uncle Joe joked, so Amara, are you here today for another gift? Amara turned and looked him straight in the eyes. What do you mean? I'm here because I want to be, she said. If I wanted money, I know many rich men I could call. Uncle Joe was quiet. I come here because I enjoy your stories, she added. I come here because I feel safe talking to you. He cleared his throat and looked away, feeling embarrassed. I was just joking, he said softly. I know, Amara replied with a smile. But sometimes jokes reveal what's in the heart. That day, something changed in Uncle Joe. He began to trust her more. He listened to her more. And little by little, his walls began to fall. Weeks turned into months, stronger. Amara now visited the shop often. Sometimes she brought lunch. Other times, she helped him clean the shelves or arrange the wires on the inverter stands. They would laugh like children over silly things. They would argue like friends and settle like lovers. Soon, people around started to notice. Joe, you're glowing, Utch teased one day. Ever since Amara came into your life, your smile has been wider. Uncle Joe laughed but didn't deny it. Yes, he was happy. Happier than he had been in years. One sunny morning, Uncle Joe made a big decision. He called his mother and said, Mama, I want to bring someone home. His mother was shocked. You, Joe, are you finally listening? Yes, Mama, I've found someone. And so, the next Sunday, Uncle Joe took Amara to meet his family. His mother, who had prayed for this day, hugged Amara tightly. You are beautiful, my daughter. May God bless you for entering this man's life. The uncles and aunties welcomed her with warm smiles. The cousins gave her small winks and whispers. Brother Joe Don fall in love, oh, they joked behind his back. After that visit, things moved quickly. Uncle Joe bought matching outfits for himself and Amara. He even gave her a spare key to his apartment. Now, when he got back from the shop, he no longer came home to an empty house. Sometimes Amara was there, helping him prepare dinner or watching TV in the living room. One evening, as they were eating, Uncle Joe stood up suddenly, went into the room, and returned with a small red box. Amara looked up surprised. "What's that?" He opened it and knelt down. Inside was a shining ring. "Amara," he said, his voice gentle and deep, "I've spent so many years fearing love, but you taught me to believe again. Will you marry me?" Her eyes widened and tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she said with a big smile. "Yes, I will." Uncle Joe slid the ring on her finger, and they hugged tightly. It was a quiet moment, but full of joy. From that day on, they started planning their wedding, buying materials, making guest lists, and calling family members. Even Utch joined in the excitement. "Ogre Joe, we must paint this town red," he shouted in joy. Everyone was happy. Uncle Joe had changed, and it was all because of one woman, Amara. Wedding plans had already started. After the joyful introduction ceremony, everyone was excited, especially Auntie Amara. She had waited for a day like this. There was something different about her body, though she began to feel strange. She was always tired, her tummy made funny noises, and sometimes her head would spin. Then one morning she sat up and sighed deeply. I've missed my period." She checked her calendar again. Yes, it was already 2 weeks late. Her heart began to beat fast. Could it be what I'm thinking? She didn't want to guess wrong, so she waited another day, but nothing changed. The next evening, she called Uncle Joe into the room after he came back from his generator shop. "I have something to tell you," she said softly. Joe looked worried. "What's wrong? You look pale." "I think I'm pregnant," she said slowly. He froze. "What, really?" he asked, his voice loud. She nodded gently. "Yes, I've missed my period." Uncle Joe's mouth opened wide in surprise. Then he suddenly smiled. "Wow, I don't even know what to say." But he paused. "How come you are pregnant? We've only done it once." Amara looked down. "Yes, but remember, you are my first." Uncle Joe rubbed his beard. I hope this pregnancy is fire Shah," he said with a short laugh, trying to hide his confusion. Amara smiled a little but said nothing. Days passed. As the news settled, Amara began to pack her things to move into Uncle Joe's house. He had told her, "Now that we're engaged and expecting a child, you should stay here." So she moved in. The house felt different. Her soft touches made the place warmer. She arranged his clothes in the wardrobe, put flowers by the window, and added sweet-smelling soap to the bathroom. But not long after she moved in, Uncle Joe sat her down one evening. He cleared his throat and said, "Amara, I need to tell you something." She looked up quickly. "What is it?" He looked serious. "You know we can't get married anytime soon again." She blinked. "Why not?" He sighed and folded his arms. "You're already pregnant." "And so?" she asked, confused. "I'm a titled man," he said proudly. "In my culture, it's wrong to marry a woman who is already carrying your child. It brings shame and questions." Amara went silent for a while. Then she said slowly, "But no one else knows I'm pregnant apart from us. Can't we just do something small? Maybe a little thing on my head so I can be legally yours." Uncle Joe stood up and waved his hand. "I've done that already. The introduction is enough. What else do you want?" She looked at him closely. Fine then," she whispered. From that day, Amara tried her best to be a good partner. Her pregnancy journey wasn't smooth. She was tired almost every morning. She would throw up, her head would hurt. Some days she couldn't even smell food. But she still tried. She would drag herself out of bed, wipe her eyes, and walk slowly into the kitchen to prepare meals for Uncle Joe. Even when her legs were heavy, she would force herself to sweep the house. She folded his clothes, cleaned the shelves, and made sure his food was warm. One day, everything felt worse. Amara had tried to cook but started feeling dizzy. Her hands were shaking, her stomach was turning, so she decided to rest in the sitting room for a while. She curled up on the cushion and fell asleep. Later that evening, Uncle Joe came back from work. He pushed the door open and dropped his bag. "Amara," he called. She woke up slowly, rubbed her eyes and sat up. "Welcome," she said in a low voice. "Is my food ready?" he asked without smiling. Amara shook her head slowly. "No, I'm not feeling very strong today. I was going to make something, but I fell asleep." Uncle Joe's face changed. He dropped his car keys on the table and raised his voice. "Amara, you are a very lazy woman." She blinked fast, confused. You're not the first woman to get pregnant, he continued angrily. My mother was pregnant 11 times. 11, and I never saw her lie down like this during pregnancy. Amara's lips trembled. I was out working since morning. I came back hungry, thinking I'd find hot food in the kitchen, but nothing. And yet there's foodstuff in this house. She sat quietly, her hands rested on her lap. This is a big red flag, Amara. I can't believe this, he said. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue. She only stared at the floor and cried silently. Uncle Joe looked at her and said, Please get up and make something. I'm tired and need to eat. Without saying a word, Amara stood up. Her back was bent and her steps were slow. Anyone who saw her would know she was sick. Her skin had lost color and her face was pale. She walked into the kitchen and began to cook. But Uncle Joe didn't notice how weak she was. He only sat in the sitting room and shook his head. This is why I hate marriage, he muttered. Girls of today are not like our mothers. They're soft, slow, and always complaining, lazy and unproductive. Soon, Amara came out with a plate of simo and soup. She placed it on the table gently. It's the soup I made 2 days ago, she said quietly. Uncle Joe didn't look at her. He picked up the plate and ate in silence. When he finished, he dropped the spoon and leaned back in his chair. Don't give me old soup again, he said firmly. I'm a titled man, I deserve freshly made food. That fridge is not for storing old things. It's not healthy for me. Amara nodded slowly. Okay, she whispered. She turned around and went into the room. Her feet dragged softly on the floor. She lay on the bed, her back turned to the door. Her hand gently rested on her stomach. A single tear rolled down her cheek. The morning sun rose slowly, spreading its soft light across the bedroom. Amara opened her eyes and stretched. But her body didn't feel good. Her back ached, her legs were weak, and her heart felt heavy. She sat up carefully and held her stomach. I can't feel my baby like before, she whispered, gently rubbing her belly. She blinked a few times, trying not to cry. She turned and saw Uncle Joe sleeping on the bed. She tapped him softly on the shoulder. Good morning, she said quietly. He groaned and turned his face away. She tried again, her voice shaking. Please wake up, I need to talk to you. He opened his eyes halfway. What is it? He asked in a tired voice. Amara stood by the bed, her hands holding her belly. I'm 5 months gone, she said. I don't feel strong at all. Sometimes I can't feel my baby move. Please, I want to register for antenatal. I need to see a doctor. But before she could say more, Uncle Joe sat up quickly and shouted, You're not going anywhere. She stood still, shocked. You just want an excuse to run around because you're lazy. He snapped, My mother gave birth to 11 children. 11, she didn't go for any antenatal. And she gave birth to all of us safely. Amara's lips shook, but I don't feel okay. Uncle Joe waved his hand. Stop it. What movement are you even talking about? Is the child supposed to be playing football in your stomach? She looked down in silence. He added harshly, Don't wake me up again for nonsense. Let me sleep in peace. Amara swallowed hard. But I thought you said you love me, what changed? Uncle Joe looked at her and laughed coldly. Love kill you there, aren't you with me because of my money? She opened her mouth in shock. Her heart broke into tiny pieces. I left my family for you, she said with tears in her eyes. I've suffered in this house because of love. I don't even ask for money. All I want is to make sure our baby is safe. But Uncle Joe turned his face to the wall and closed his eyes. I won't pay for any hospital, he said. End of story. Amara stood there, her eyes wet and her body shaking. She walked slowly to the kitchen, sat down and cried into her hands. From that day, her health got worse. Her skin became pale. She barely had strength to walk around. Her stomach hurt, and her head felt like it was always spinning. But every time she complained, Uncle Joe would hiss. She's just pretending, he would say. She wants attention. She's lazy and dramatic. Even when she couldn't get up from bed. He walked past her like she was invisible. One morning, as tears rolled down her face, Amara remembered something. Her elder brother, Charles, lived abroad. He had always told her to call him if she ever needed help. She reached for her phone with shaking hands and dialed his number. Hello, his deep voice came through. Brother Charles, she cried, I need help. Please send me money for hospital care. I'm not feeling well and the baby, something is wrong. Her brother didn't waste a second. I'll send you money right now, he said. Go to the best hospital nearby, I'm with you. Within minutes, she got an alert. The money was more than enough. She packed a small bag and slowly left the house without saying a word to Uncle Joe. At the hospital, she told the nurses everything. The doctor checked her and immediately became concerned. You need to be admitted right now, he said firmly. Your health history doesn't look good, and the baby's heartbeat is weak. They did a scan and frowned. The baby is not breathing properly, the doctor said, shaking his head. Amara felt like her world stopped. She clutched her stomach. Please save my child. Where's your husband? The doctor asked. He's at work, she replied softly. We need him here. Some papers must be signed before we continue treatment. He explained, this is serious. Amara picked up her phone and called Uncle Joe. Hello, it's me, she said. I'm at the hospital. They admitted me. The doctor says the baby isn't breathing well. She paused. They need you to sign some papers. Please come. But Uncle Joe's voice was cold. I told you not to go to the hospital, but you didn't listen, he said. But I'm sick, she tried to explain. You disrespected me, he snapped. Now carry your cross. I can't close my shop because of a mere woman. Tears ran down Amara's cheeks. Please, I'm begging you, it's our baby. I said no, he shouted and hung up. Amara dropped the phone and cried into her pillow. The nurse came in and wiped her tears gently. Don't worry, the nurse said. We'll take care of you, we'll do our best. Amara looked up, her eyes swollen. Go ahead without him, she whispered. Please save me. The doctor did another check, and after a long silence he gave her the news. We're very sorry, he said slowly. The baby is no longer alive. Amara let out a painful cry. She held her stomach and screamed in sorrow. The room felt cold. Her heart felt like it was breaking into a million pieces. The doctor held her hand gently. You'll need to push, he said. We must remove the child to save your life. Amara sobbed and nodded. She cried through the pain. She cried as the nurses helped her. She cried not just for the baby, but for the man who didn't care. When it was over, she lay in bed, weak and heartbroken. She stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Uncle Joe didn't call. He didn't text her. He didn't come to see her. Not even once. The hospital bed was no longer hers. The nurses had removed the drip. The doctor gave her some medicine and a small note for checkup. Amara was finally discharged. The sun was hot that Sunday afternoon. The sky was clear, and people were walking home from church. Dressed in bright colors, some laughed on the road. Others held hands with their families. But Amara walked alone. Her steps were slow. Her face tired, her eyes dull. She got to the gate and opened it. As she stepped inside the compound, she heard music playing from the speaker. Uncle Joe was sitting outside, eating roasted chicken and sipping palm wine from a glass cup. He had a toothpick between his teeth and looked as if nothing had happened. When he saw her, he leaned back and looked her up and down. You are back, he said coldly. Amara didn't say a word. She walked past him like he was a stranger. He watched her closely. How can she act like that, like I don't exist? He dropped his cup on the plastic table and hissed. So now you're too big to greet me? He asked, raising his voice. Amara turned around slowly, her face calm but her eyes fierce. I'm strong enough now, Joseph, she said, her voice firm. Strong enough to speak, strong enough to walk away. He scoffed. To speak what, walk where? She pointed at him, her hand shaking with emotion. You are a very heartless man, she said. You watched me suffer. You ignored my cries. You left me in the hospital when I lost our baby. Uncle Joe laughed. Look who's talking, he said, biting into the chicken. I was only trying to teach you a lesson. You wanted to be stubborn, right? Tears ran down Amara's cheeks, but her voice didn't break. No wonder you're in your 40s and still not married, she said. What woman would agree to live with someone like you? A man with no heart, no love and no care. He leaned forward and dropped the chicken bone. You've grown wings, he said with a smirk. But it's fine, I will clip them. You're nothing, Amara. I only helped you because I felt sorry for you. Amara folded her arms, holding herself so she wouldn't shake. You helped me, she asked, by calling me lazy, by watching me almost die, by turning your back when I needed you the most. He stood up now, trying to show his pride. I don't beg women, he said. I'm a man. You should be thankful I even allowed you into my house. That was it, Amara's voice rose. I'm glad I didn't give you a child, she shouted. Uncle Joe blinked. You don't deserve to hear a baby cry in your house. You don't deserve joy. May this house never know the laughter of a child. He gasped. You dare curse me, he said angrily. I speak the truth, she replied. You destroyed something that could have brought happiness. And I'm done. I'm no longer interested in this so-called marriage. She turned around, walked into the house, and entered the bedroom. She didn't cry anymore. She didn't beg. Her heart was heavy, but her mind was clear. She brought out her small travel bag and began to pack her things, her clothes. Her slippers, her Bible, her lotion, her hairbrush. One by one, she folded everything and placed them gently into the bag. She looked around the room one last time. This room had seen her pain. This room had witnessed her weakness. Now it would see her strength. She came out with her bag, heading to the door. Uncle Joe sat back down and picked up his glass again. "You really think any man will want you now?" he said behind her, "a woman like you, after all the things you've been through?" Amara didn't turn around. "Go ahead," he said louder. "Leave. But don't come back begging when every man rejects you. You'll see life is not sweet out there." She paused at the door, looked back for a second, and whispered, "Even if I'm alone forever, it will still be better than being with someone like you." She opened the door and walked out without a second thought. Uncle Joe didn't move, he didn't follow her. He didn't even pretend to say, "Wait, let's talk." Instead, he crossed his leg, took another sip, and muttered to himself, "She'll be back. Women always come back, she's just doing shakara." But she didn't come back. Not that night. Not the next day. Not ever. Amara went back to her family house. Her mother welcomed her with open arms. Her brother Charles called from abroad and promised to support her with everything she needed. She deleted Uncle Joe's number from her phone. She erased the photos. She took out the ring he gave her and dropped it in the dustbin. That chapter of her life was closed. Years passed. Amara healed slowly, her heart was bruised, but not broken. She went back to work. She smiled again, she found peace. One day, she met a kind man named David. He didn't look down on her, he didn't shout, he didn't call her lazy. He listened, he cared, he treated her like gold. They got married in a small but beautiful ceremony. Her family danced, her friends clapped. She wore a white gown and smiled so brightly, her cheeks hurt. Amara was finally happy. Back in town, Uncle Joe was still there, still selling generators, still shouting at customers, still sitting outside with chicken and palm wine, but he was still unmarried. Sometimes he would see children pass by his shop, holding their father's hands, and his heart would ache just a little. He would remember the woman who once wanted to love him, the one who begged him for care, the one he pushed away, but his pride never allowed him to admit his mistake. So he stayed alone, year after year, watching life go on without him. The end. Lessons learned. Pregnancy is not weakness. Every woman deserves care and support. Love without kindness is abuse. Never ignore the silent tears of someone who would do anything for you. If someone chooses you with their whole heart, don't handle it with half of yours. Please like, share, and comment your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more touching stories. Your support means everything.